I am a 29-year-old construction worker. Been doing it since high school. Metal framing and sheetrock mostly, and I'm in decent shape with no history of mental disorders in my family. The only problem I have developed over the years is a mild case of tetanus from being stubborn and not wearing ear protection. It comes during times of silence, like when I'm trying to sleep, so I try to keep a TV or fan on to cancel out the ringing. Work was getting slow where I live, so I decided to move to Virginia. I was staying with a friend who got me a sweet gig at a local construction company in the Norfolk Naval Base. Huge job. 5-story building, complete build out from the ground up. Good pay. Not exactly close to where we were staying, but the drive wasn't as bad as long as I made it in before the morning traffic. The only thing wrong with the job was the foreman. He was a complete asshole. Always talking down to us workers in that sort of passive-aggressive tone that made me want to punch him in the face. But as long as we stayed busy, he didn't bother us for long. It was a huge job, and he had a lot of people to bug. About 4 months into the job, I injured my right hand, sliced my middle finger on a piece of metal. It didn't hurt at all, and it was apparently because I cut it so deep I severed the nerves. The next day, I had to file an injury report and everything. My boss said he was going to put me on light duty, and that I didn't have to do anything except sweep until my hand healed. And I was all for that, same pay for easy work. For the first week, things were alright, but it started to get really boring, and I mean really boring. The days dragged on, and I wondered why they didn't just pay me to stay home. So naturally, I started wandering around the job to kill time, checking out the hallways, and there were plenty of hallways. Really long and gloomy looking when they were just gray brick all around. Some at the top didn't even have temporary lighting and would have been pitch black if it weren't for the huge window cutouts at the end of each end, letting in sunlight. I stayed away from those hallways. They always creeped me out. One day I was feeling bored, so I decided to go walking around on the 4th floor. Most of the work had been finished, and there weren't any other trades doing work in the time, so I had it all to myself. It was around that time I noticed my tetanus was acting up worse than usual. I figured someone must have had a generator running or something, so I started running towards the other end of the hallway. About 3/4 of the way, my ears started painfully ringing. I tried sticking my fingers in my ears and humming, which usually does the trick, but the ringing was so intense. I started to feel nauseous, and I fell over on my hands and knees. I was slapping my ears, trying to make the ringing stop. My eyes started wandering at some point because I was slapping my head so hard. I got up on my knees, still covering my ears, trying to get to my feet so I could make it to the stairwell, but the ringing was so intense. Every move I made set my head spinning. Moving slow helped, but not much. As I turned around, I noticed someone standing at the other end of the hallway near one of the window cutouts. The sun behind him was so bright, and all I could see was a silhouette. I started yelling help as loud as I could, but the guy didn't move. I thought maybe he had earplugs in and couldn't hear me, so I started moving towards him slowly so my head wouldn't spin. And as I got closer, I started noticing things I hadn't before. First, this guy was huge. Impossibly huge. His head was small in proportion to his body, and near the top of the window, his shoulders were really wide and high, almost like he was shrugging. His arms were so long, hanging down past his waist, with really long fingers on each hand. I still couldn't make out any facial features because of the bright sun behind him, but as I started realizing this person wasn't normal, I slowly backed away. He just stood there looking at me. I was almost to the stairs when this thing slowly cocks its head to the side, like a dog does when it's confused, and the ringing in my ears just goes crazy. It was extremely painful at the time. I thought my ears were bleeding. I was pressing my hands in my ears, yelling, but it was so loud I even couldn't hear myself yell at all. I dropped back to my hands and knees and threw up on the floor until I was puking air. I looked up to see if this thing was coming after me, but I caught the last glimpse of it as it walked into a nearby room. And then the ringing in my ears stopped the instant it disappeared around the corner, like someone hit the mute button. Needless to say, I ran the fuck out of there and didn't look back. I stayed away from the 4th floor for the next couple months. I told a few people what I saw, but they only pretended to be interested. It was about 5 months after it happened that I decided to go back up there. I checked every room, and if there were any signs of this thing, they were long gone. I went to the window where it was standing and took a measurement. The top of the window was 10 foot 9 inches. I still have tetanus. There have been a few times when I'm laying in bed at night and the reading gets really painful, and I freak out and check every room in my apartment. But it never gets as bad as it was that day, and I hope it never does.